Hello YouTube and welcome to my Genshin Impact version 3.5 Phase 1 test runs. So I'm going to cover the 5-star characters in just a little bit, but first I wanted to go over some of the details for the various 4-star characters that are also on the banner. I'm starting off with the best healer in the game. And you heard me right. Barbara is the best healer in the game. Now there you can make a lot of arguments for some other characters. There's plenty of other characters that can heal and can also attack. There's also a lot of healers that can heal without putting hydro on all of your characters, etc., etc., etc. But what's unique about Barbara, or near unique about Barbara, is her C6. When Barbara is in the party but not on the field and one of your own party members falls, she automatically revives the fallen character and fully restores the revived character's hit points up to 100%. Now this can only happen every 15 minutes, so it's more of a one-time only grace, particularly if you're messing with the Spiral Abyss, but it can be very handy. Now she definitely does not do a lot of damage, and Chi-Chi also has a C6 that does revival as well, but you're not going to see a lot of C6 Chi-Chis in the game unless you really spend a lot of money. You don't even want to think about how much money you need to spend to do that. Barbara, on the other hand, you get the first copy of her for free. She is frequently a featured 4-star character on different banners, plus she is in Paimon Shop twice a year. So C6 Barbara is definitely doable if you want to. So, and I think that she's the best healer in the game. But that's that. Now we're gonna just kind of move on from that. Her best weapon, I don't think very many people will dispute this, is Throwing Tales of Dragon Slayers. 3-star catalyst. You'll get this plenty of times while you're trying to pull for something else. The only caveat I would say for that is that if you're going into a co-op, then you will want to have the prototype Amber for her. Mostly because Throwing Tales of Dragon Slayers passive will not work in co-op. It may work if there's just 2 players and it will work for your other character, but in co-op, generally speaking, go with prototype Amber. It has better hit points, so it will do more healing, and it will regenerate energy instead of giving a big attack boost, which it can't do in co-op. As far as the artifact set, you don't have to be as crazy as I am in getting the Ocean-Hued Clam set. The Maiden Beloved set works just fine. All you have to do is just make sure that she is as loaded with as much HP boosts as you possibly can. Get the HP boosts on the main stat for your sands and for your goblet. You can do HP for the circlet, although I prefer the healing bonus myself. I don't want to talk about that crit damage that rolled onto that goblet, onto that circlet rather, but yes, that is pretty much all you need for Barbara as far as artifacts. Talents, level up her skill and her burst up to the point where she can heal everyone as quickly as possible. Her normal attack, she's not going to do much damage anyway, so it almost feels like a waste to. I leveled up her normal attack and I regret it. So don't make the mistake that I did with that. So now on to Bennett. Bennett there's so much to say about Bennett, and a lot of people who are smarter than I am have already said it. So I'm just going to say that the best weapon on Bennett is Akia Favonia. I don't think that there's much argument for that. It's the right answer if you're building him as a DPS. It's the right answer if you're building him as a support, as far as I can tell. You can debate a couple other weapons, but the thing is, Akia Favonia, you're going to pull it eventually, and it's got to go somewhere, and it works pretty well on him as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you want to build him as a DPS, then 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames is probably the way you want to go. Standard DPS building rules apply. However, everyone else is going to go with a 4-piece Noblesse. You'll see this probably on most crafting guides. Just build him as you would just any other attacker. Noblesse is also one where the 4-piece set only needs to be on one player on your team, or one character on your team. So once it's on Bennett, if it's on someone else, swap it with something else. I would leave Noblesse on Bennett if there's a conflict. But as for the constellations, a lot of people stop at Constellation 5 because Constellation 6 is a bit of a one-way street. I'll go ahead and show you that one. Sword, claymore, or polearm wielding characters inside Fantastic Voyage, which is his burst radius, gain a 15% pyro damage bonus, and their weapons are infused with pyro. Doesn't sound bad, right? Well, if you don't want weapons infused with pyro, then you don't want the C6. So if you don't want to deal with that, get to C5 and then just stop there. You will get the ability to get to C6, but it won't hurt anything to just leave it there. As for me, I crossed the Rubicon. I have no regrets in doing so. I know why a lot of the meta players like to stick with C5. I've seen what the builds are that really that break down if you go to C6. And generally speaking, since this is equivalent of crossing the Rubicon, my experience with meta players, no matter what game we're talking about, is that meta players hate crossing the Rubicon. Talents, pretty much you can do whatever you want. I've been leveling them up pretty much evenly. So, yeah, that's, like I said, there's a lot more to talk about Bennett if you want to, but I don't want to spend the whole video talking about Bennett because we've got a lot of other things we need to cover. As for Kale, everyone has a free copy of Kale, just like everyone has a free copy of Barbara. Granted, just like Barbara, you have to finish the prologue to get her. And for Kale, you have to get past, I believe, floor 4 of the Spiral Abyss to get her. That's not too bad. It will take some doing to get past floor 4 if you're just starting off. But if you're good enough to clear Inazuma, you're probably automatically good enough to clear floor 4 of the Spiral Abyss. And you'll pretty much need to be in Sumeru to get her Ascension materials and talent materials anyway. Now, as far as how to build her, it's pretty much an open canvas as far as I'm concerned. You can build her as a support, you can build her as a DPS. If you build her as a DPS, you'll probably just be just fine. That's kind of what I did. See that nice looking 5-star weapon right there. And artifact sets, I think Deepwood Memories is pretty much the way to go. It's just like Noblesse, Deepwood Memories is one that you only need a 4-piece set on one character in your party. So if she's in your party as well as Nahida, and Nahida has the 4-piece set, then pick which character is going to keep a 4-piece set and then just bump the other one to a 2 pair. Deepwood Memories and something else, and you'll be just fine. I'll leave who should get bumped to a 2 pair versus keeping the 4-piece set. That's pretty much up to you. It all depends on what your team comp is like, and whether those characters show up in other teams or not. So that's my quick look at the 4-star characters. So let's take a look at the test runs for the 5-star characters. I'm going to do Sino's test run first because I did it before. It's been a while, and I did not attempt to pull for him. And his banner was in 3.1, if I remember correctly. And I don't recall the specific reason why I did not pull for him. I think it might have been the same banner where I was going to try for a weapon. It might have been the Primordial Jade Spear that I have on the Traveler, but that's just a guess. So let's see what Sino's talents look like. Normal attack is pretty much normal. I don't spend much time looking at normal attacks. Let's take a look at his burst first because the skill will reference it. The burst calls upon a divine spirit to indwell him, morphing into Pack Swarm Path Clearer. We'll see that when I do the test run. Sino's normal charged and plunging attacks will be converted to electro damage that cannot be overridden. So he can be in C6 Bennett's Fantastic Voyage, and he'll still be electro damage. Sino's elemental mastery and resistance to interruption will increase, and he gains immunity to electro charge damage. This effect will be canceled when Sino leaves the field and lasts a maximum of 18 seconds. And you can see that the cooldown is 20 seconds. So if you get the maximum duration, you just have 2 seconds per cycle when that's not in effect. If you just want them on the field the whole time. So we've seen what this looks like. Now let's take a look at the skill. Performs a swift thrust, dealing electro damage to opponents along the path. That's pretty common with polearm users. When Sino is under the Pack Sworn Path Clearer state, which is the one we just talked about, triggered by the Sacred Rite Wolf Swiftness, which is, like I said, what we just talked about. He will instead unleash a Mortuary Rite that deals thunderous AoE electro damage and extends the duration of the Pack Sworn Path Cleaver. And so it increases it by 4 seconds. That's why it starts off as 10 and can get extended. And this cooldown is 7.5 seconds. So if you want to get it completely full, you gotta have everything timed about right. And at that point, you're pretty much having him on the field the whole time. So, the other, I didn't really spend a lot of time looking at these. I probably should. When Sino's burst is activated, Sino will enter the Endseer stance at intervals. If he activates Secret Rite Chasmic Soulfarer, which is the skill, while affected by this stance, he'll activate the Judication effect, increasing the damage of this. My goodness, so many words. Increasing the damage of this by 35% and firing off 3 Dust Stalker bolts that deal 100% of Sino's attack as electro damage. Okay, almost there. Then we'll have to deal with Dehya. Sino's damage will be increased based on his elemental mastery as follows. The burst damage is increased by 150% of his elemental mastery. And the Dust Stalker Bolt damage from his passive talent is increased by 250% of his elemental mastery, and he gains 25% more rewards when dispatched on a Sumero expedition for 20 hours. That's assuming you think it is necessary to do any expeditions in Sumero. All right. Oh wait, let's take a look at his weapon too. So he has a crit rate weapon, Staff of Scarlet Sands. For those who pulled Hu Tao in the previous banner but did not get her weapon, this is a good second choice right here. So give it some thought. Give it some thought. I mean, there are some good 4-star weapons for Hu Tao, but this could be a good 5-star weapon for her as well. Okay, so they have given him Gilded Dreams, which sounds okay. That will increase his elemental mastery by a bit. It all depends what the 4-piece set does depends on who is in his party. In this case, it looks like he's in a party with a Dendro, Hydro, and Geo character. So we're going for that massive EM boost. What is his? So 371 EM. I would say that sounds good. Pretty good crit rate, crit damage right there. Crit damage might be a little high, but they certainly spent a lot on that. Energy recharge, surprised it's 135, but should be okay. And 46.6% electro damage bonus. Okay, let's just do this. So let's don't know why I didn't bring my water bottle over here. So. Knew I'd be talking for a little bit.
Judgment is upon you. Your penance is due.
So he can do quite a bit of damage all on his own. And actually, what I was thinking was a little bit unfounded because it does look like he gets enough electro. He's getting enough energy easily to keep his burst going if you want to play him as a solo. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So let's go ahead and exit this stage. I'll collect the rewards later off camera because they're just rewards for doing the test run. Nothing too fancy. But with Dehya, I have a feeling I'm probably gonna double my video as far as duration just by talking about Dehya because I tried to read a little bit into her before recording this. I did see in the days leading up to version 3.5 that people who had been testing her on the media server, which does not include me, have been pretty down on her. So we're gonna see what all that's about. The feelings I have on her that kind of go back to some of my previous videos when I covered the special program announcement in particular is that we are looking at a Pyro Claymore user that's now going on the standard banner where where a lot of what we're going to be talking about with Dehya is comparing her to the Pyro Claymore users we already have. So Dehya can use her elemental skill to create a fiery sanctum field. They'll launch pyro damage, dealing coordinated attacks when opponents take damage in its area of effect. Additionally, the characters within the field's AoE will have increased resistance to interruption and can transfer part of the damage they take as continuous damage for Dehya to bear. Upon using her elemental burst, Dehya enters the blazing lioness state, in which she will automatically and continuously unleash her flame main's fists, dealing pyro damage. While in this state, her normal and elemental skill will be replaced by Roaring Barrage. Unleashing Roaring Barrage within a short time after Flame Main's Fist Strike will increase the speed at which the next Flame Main Fist Strike will be triggered. Elemental orbs will drop, and that's just the test run.
My people are used
And
to
I guess I probably should have considered that with Sino's ER, is that it does drop orbs a lot more frequently during the test runs so that you have a chance to test out their bursts and skills to your heart's content. All right, so let's take a look at her talents. Again, I'm not really a big fan of covering the normal, although whatever. Normal charged plunging attacks. I think that there's a little bit different verbiage on the charged attacks, but I don't think it's really going to matter too much. Molten Inferno. This art of Dehya's own invention changes its method of use depending on the combat situation. So the first one is Indomitable Flame. The skill will be unleashed should there be no fiery sanctum field created by Dehya herself present at the time. Okay, so that's fiery sanctum field. Is it this? What is a fiery sanctum? What are we defining as a fiery sanctum field? Only one fiery sanctum created by Dehya herself can exist at the same time. So, okay, so if this is not overriding something, that's what it does. Deals AoE pyro damage and creates a field known as Fiery Sanctum. And Raging Flame. This skill will be unleashed should a Fiery Sanctum field created by Dehya herself already exist. Dehya will perform a leaping attack dealing AoE pyro damage before recreating a Fiery Sanctum field at her new position. Fiery Sanctum field created this way will inherit the remaining duration of the previous field. Interesting. So does that mean that it lasts? So if the last one was, what's the duration? 12 seconds. So if the previous one lasted for 12 seconds, or would have 5 seconds left, and you did this one, would that mean that it now still has 5 seconds left? That's the way I read that. So Fiery Sanctum, when an opponent within a Fiery Sanctum field takes damage, the field will unleash a coordinated attack dealing AoE pyro damage to them based on Dehya's attack and maximum hit points. This effect can be triggered once every 2.5 seconds. Now that kind of explains something that I believe I read earlier. Active characters within this field have their resistance to interruption increased, and when such characters take damage, a portion of that damage will be mitigated in the flow into Redmane's blood. Dehya will then take this damage over 10 seconds, and so forth. When this mitigated damage stored by Redmane's blood reaches or goes over a certain percentage of Dehya's max HP, she'll stop mitigating damage in this way. Basically, we can have Dehya mitigate so much damage that she KOs herself, and so forth. And what was so the field damage does 96.3% attack plus 1.65% of maximum HP, and the Redmane's blood maximum is twice her maximum HP. Okay, sure. Then Leonine Bite, unleashing her burning anger and casting her inconvenient blade aside. That's some choice words right there, particularly if you went and got her 5-star claymore. And it's like casting her inconvenient blade aside. Great. Dehya enters her blazing lioness state and increases her resistance to interruption. In this state, Dehya will automatically and continuously unleash the Flame Mane's fists, dealing pyro damage based on her attack and maximum HP. And when its duration ends, she'll unleash an incineration drive, dealing AoE pyro damage based on her attack and maximum HP. So there's that again. If a fiery sanctum field created by Dehya's own elemental skill, Molten Inferno, exists, when this ability is unleashed, Dehya will retrieve it and then create another field once Blazing Lioness duration expires. This field will take on the retrieved field's duration at the moment of its retrieval. In this state, Dehya will be unable to cast her elemental skill or perform normal charged and plunging attacks, and so forth. This is, I know this is a lot of reading, but yeah, the short and interesting thing is that she's got a movement speed bonus of 10% during the daytime hours, which is kind of the opposite of Rosaria's movement speed. So you could potentially, if you're just doing a lot of traversing in the world, you could put them both in the same party and just have 10% movement speed for the whole time. Not sure if you would do that, but you could. So her weapon, and I would be very careful about this weapon right now, because since she's going to be a standard character, I don't see how this weapon will get on a banner anytime soon, possibly even ever. So if you want this weapon, it's now or never. And it's a crit rate weapon, which is a good DPS weapon to have. I kind of read through this a little bit. It does kind of match up with a lot of things that she does as far as her talents. So it does make sense. There are other crit rate claymores out there. Serpent Spine being the 4-star option, although you have to complete the paid battle pass to get it. I'd be a little bit careful with the Serpent Spine because it's got a counter on it. Make sure that counter doesn't clobber anything else that might be in play. I don't see anything offhand that would make me worried about that, but just think about that. So they gave her Tenacity of the Millilith, 4-piece set, which I think I can see what they're thinking of right now. My first thought was, why this set? Because it almost seems like we're kind of focusing on her as kind of a solo DPS. That was my first inclination just by reading through everything that I had to read through. Tenacity 2-piece increases her HP by 20%. I get that. The 4-piece set bonus, I don't really understand why you'd want it on her. I feel like I should point out that the Tenacity of the Millith, just like Noblesse, is a 4-piece set that only needs to happen in one person in your party. So if someone else has Tenacity, then yeah. I think that this is a good option to go for a 2-pair. What was her energy cost for this? So I keep scrolling up. 70. That's kind of in the middle. Usually it's 60, 70, or 80. I think there's a lot of good options to go for the other 2-piece set if you're not gonna go for 4-piece Tenacity. I'll cover that maybe at the end. I want to see how she plays first because that will help me determine what I think is a good option for the other two-piece set. Okay, so there's the field right there. So what's it doing right now? It's not doing a whole lot of damage to them, but you can see it's wearing them down a little bit. Okay. Can't call it again just yet. Okay, let's do it now. Okay, so I can call it again now. Okay, I see.
Your mommy teach you that?
Let's get these guys out of here now. Okay, so basically everything that I was reading about the skill. So basically she can call it once, but you can see that she can call it again right away. That's that second one right there. So the duration isn't going to change. And it automatically goes to cooldown from there. Okay, so I've got a mid-troll here. So let's try the skill and the burst together here and see what happens.
You asked for it.
So that did quite a bit, so to speak. Okay.
Freeze.
I can see how this might take a little bit of getting used to. Let's try this real quick.
Dodge this.
That didn't look too bad. No, I want to continue it for just a little bit because I feel like I need to see a little, and I feel like I need to try that a little bit more. So the skill cooldown is kind of a I don't know. I don't really like the skill cooldown. I mean, as far as her being now, granted, maybe she's on a team with more characters that you're tagging in and out. I don't see a lot of.
Freeze.
I mean, I think I see some elemental reaction damage to inside this field, but I don't know. I guess part of me was thinking that all the horror stories I was hearing, I think I was planning on seeing something a little bit worse. I think usually we don't have them with, constellations. But seeing Bennett on this team got me to thinking that what you could do, if you, like me,
You asked for it.
managed to C6 Bennett, keep in mind that I think that. Well, let me just read that again. I want to be sure because it's not all of the weapons that are affected by C6, but I do think claymores are. Sword, claymore, and polearm. Yeah. So basically, if you have a C6 Bennett and you throw down Fantastic Voyage,
Everybody's
like so, then her normal attacks would now be doing pyro damage, which might be useful.
You ain't messing around.
But
Your mommy teach her that?
There's a lot of players out there who I guarantee have not C6 Bennett, or C6 Bennett just on a dare. I'm probably one of the very few that
You're dead meat!
C6 Bennett for reasons that made sense at least to themselves. Okay. So so what did I learn from that? I would say that if you're looking for another two-piece for her, what kind of things did we? So they gave her so we're working with kind of the standard energy recharge they're giving her. This is pretty good crit right there. I would say. EM maybe could have been maybe a shade higher, but if you're using her as a solo character, EM is probably the least of your concerns. You gave her pretty good maximum hit points. Now that's part of that's the tenacity set. Her attack is 1495. That's not particularly high, so they're definitely with their build. They're definitely trying to scale more off of her HP than her attack, which based on characters I've seen before, that would kind of make sense to why they did that. So I guess for the other two-piece set, I wouldn't be inclined to go for an attack 18%. I hate to say it, but a two-piece Emblem of Severed Fate might not be the worst idea in the world, although that's not going to fix her skill cooldown. That would just get her burst up faster. But that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, worst idea in the world. If you have a C6 Bennett, I think that's going to help her out a bit. If you put them together, that will help with the energy recharge by itself without necessarily needing to go to an ESF. I'm just kind of guessing that if this was me, and I'm just kind of guessing, maybe HP Sands, HP Goblet, and either an HP or a crit circlet. Since her weapon is crit rate, I would imagine that would be crit damage if you decide to do that. You certainly wouldn't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with HP on this. This wouldn't be the same thing as Barbara, where that's really the only thing that matters. But I don't know. I see some things here, but I'm seeing the value of pairing her with C6 Bennett, and there aren't going to be very many meta players that are going to advocate C6ing Bennett for any reason under the sun. So, yeah, I think Dehya's probably good enough that if you're a fan of her in chapter 3 and you want her on your account, I would say go for it. It could be something where I don't know. The skill is the skill was the only thing that really stood out on me on the trial run as being something that was a little bit off. But yeah, overall my recommendation stands. If you really want her, and I mean, then don't listen to me or anyone else on YouTube. Just go get her. If it's a character you want, then get her. How many more times do I have to say that? But I would definitely get her now, because it's your chances of getting her with fewer wishes is going to be better while she has her banner now. If you wait until she's going to be on this in the 50-50 loss pool, it's just going to be, you're just going to have a lot more problems to get her. As far as what I'm going to do, Dehya is, I think, a pretty decent character, but I've put a lot of effort into C6 Xinyan. I don't think that she's particularly she and my for my thoughts, I don't think she's anywhere close to what I'm getting from Xinyan. I would be I It would be interesting to see how she compares to Diluc. Although I have built Diluc, I built him incorrectly, so I can't really draw a lot of comparisons between the two. So I don't know. For me, I don't see enough that would make me want to pull for her. As for Sino, I feel like it's kind of the same thing. It was as back in 3.1. There was a reason why I didn't pull for Sino, and it wasn't because I didn't see the value. There's definitely a lot of value in him, but I don't. I know what's coming up in phase 2. There's a character that I absolutely have to pull for in phase 2, and my guarantee is in play. I'm not going to screw that up right now. So Dehya pretty much needed to be a home run must-have, and she's far from that. And Sino, I'm just gonna have to hope that he shows up on a banner where I'm not gonna be tempted by something else. But anyway, that is. But whatever you decide to do is, you're gonna have. I think there's a lot of ways to go on this. I would give, even if you're not interested in the characters, if you're not looking at someone in phase 2 or something in phase 2, give a look at the weapons banner, because there are 2 really good 5-star options there, one of which probably won't be available again. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider leaving me a like. If you want to tell me anything that I happen to get wrong on this test run video, which I probably did a couple places, leave me a comment below. I read all the comments I get, whether they're there, whether they're somewhere else. And if you want to see more, consider subscribing to this channel and or following me on Twitch. And I will see you next time.